And we are back. The Bronx is home to many tight-knit communities built on connection and mutual support. Our next guest has been involved in labor and activist movements, bringing years of experience in issue-based campaigns across the country. She's worked to advance progressive leadership, advise leaders of color, and also drive policy change through labor organizing and political consulting. Joining me now is the partner at New Deal Strategies, Camille Rivera. And thank you so much, Camille, for being a part of this conversation. And, I'll start off by asking you, when we talk about the state of labor rights, how do you describe the state of labor rights given this current socio-political climate?
Well, first of all, thank you for having me. I was born and raised in the Bronx in Soundview. Went to school in high school in the Bronx, and so it's a real honor to be on your show.
Thank you.
Thank you for your for the work that you all do. I think we are in a very hard space. The Trump administration last week just issued an executive order to kill labor in federal government agencies. That and the labor protections are not as strong as they used to. We have DOJ and other entities within the federal government and the administration cutting jobs. People are losing their livelihoods. And so it is so important now more than ever that we're fighting for the right to organize, that we're fighting for strong contracts. And I believe that labor organizations across the country are really doing what they need to do and trying to understand how to kind of act. And the only way they think, I think is important is to be able to push back as much as possible with the membership that they have.
So what's the message that's being sent out today, given the fact that we've got so many different things happening, cutbacks, firings, loss of income, and people just questioning where the future lies? What's the message that's being sent out today?
I mean, I think the message, there's a number of, if you are a regular human in the United States of America, you are, you're getting the experience of what's called flooding the zone. And so you probably feel extremely overwhelmed. I know I do, and I'm in this business and in this space. I think the most important thing to do is, in particular, when you're, if you are part of a labor movement, stay close to your contacts, whether it's your captain or your union leader or your local bargaining committee. Make sure that you read your contracts. Make sure that you feel that you have the rights that you have that are protected. A lot of labor is protected by state law, right? The states really are stepping up in this space and trying very hard to protect people who are losing work. And the state has just also started engaging in hiring people who have been let go. But if you are part of the labor movement and you are part of a union, that's the first protection that you could have. So understanding your contract, talking to people who are in the labor movement or in your labor local about your rights and ensuring that they're protected. And the labor organization is responsible for fighting back.
How do you see these executive orders and really, the legislation that you're seeing out there playing out, particularly on the ground in New York City?
I think I heard you correctly. What I think I heard was that there was, how it was playing out. Well, executive orders are not binding law, right? Some executive orders that the Trump administration puts out is just put out there, right, to see how far he can exercise his power. The states have an immense amount of jurisdiction over protections if you are here in the state and work for the state and or are in a private sector union. You do have protections. And so how it's playing out, I believe, is that many folks are trying very hard to move within the courts and the justice system to either push back against the Trump administration's executive orders to stop him from blocking or implementing them, right? Or slowing down the process and allowing states and even the federal government to legislate what the Trump administration is either trying to do or not trying to do.
We've got some Monday morning quarterbacking going on when it talks about what's happened in Wisconsin, the fact that that seat was actually won. And a lot of people are saying, listen, you put a lot of money out there, Elon Musk, but yet still, you didn't come away with the seat. Some of that is being attributed to that minority vote, Latino vote coming out there. Talk to me about this because I know for certain that you've been working with SCIU, National Latino Civic Engagement, working on really dealing with Latino voters and in the battleground states. How do you see being able to engage, particularly now with all that's on the line? How do you see the Latino vote playing out in these upcoming elections?
Yeah, and people are surprised to know that there are actually Latinos in Wisconsin.
Right.
There are Puerto Ricans in Wisconsin by way of immigration and other and migration and other spaces. There are a number of Latinos that reside and have exercised their right to vote. I would say Wisconsin, when I think about the Wisconsin race, I think about the fact that as a progressive myself, right, and a liberal, that it is okay to lean into your values. And also at the same time, money doesn't always talk, right? And the branding that Elon Musk has used himself has damaged the Republican Party and will continue to damage the Republican Party. And I think that Latinos in particular, who are courted by the Republican Party and who have, who are not a monolith, right? I think the Democratic Party is doing better in engaging and doing long-term strategy. My hope is that they continue to engage Latino voters long term. I have always pushed back on the slash and burn idea around engaging communities of color. We are not always going to stay democratic. It's pretty clear through the Trump administration, during the presidential elections, that there was a small group of people that went the other way, right? And so it's extremely important that the Democratic Party use this as a case study and see what they did right, and what the wins are telling them, and listen to voters.
Yeah, but Camille, I think one of the things that's going to be a knock against the Democratic Party, which we've heard, is that there's a lot of anti-Trump messaging, a lot of anti-Elon Musk messaging, and to the average voter in New York City, and across the United States, we're not hearing much messaging that's really resonating and hitting home outside of that. So, how do you define a firm political campaign? And I know that you've worked on Liz Warren's U.S. Senator Liz Warren's presidential campaign. Talk to us about that, right? How do you get a strong political campaign and a successful one, particularly given today's times?
Look, I think the message I think people, I think the Democratic Party really hedged their bets, right? We can't be for one thing and then slightly soft on another, right? We have to lean into what we believe in. And, voters like authenticity. It's the reason that Trump won a number of voters. They think that he's authentic. Whether or not that's true or not, he's able to have a conversation with voters that Democrats were not able to do, right? And so the way I have advised my campaigns and other candidates is to be their most authentic self, to lean in, right? Whether it's, to lean into the positions, like you see people like Zoran Mondwani, who's running for mayor, very much leaning into his leftist socialist values, right? And or talking about issues that really matter, right? You see mayoral candidates like Brad Lander and Adrian Adams and and Zelnor, who Murray, who are mayoral candidates in the city of New York, weighing in on the issues, right, and talking about their campaign, right? Talking about Trump all the time is not going to get us a win, right? We've realized that, right? People are desensitized around their messaging. It is very important to be consistent, keeping your message clear, and talking directly to voters on what they need, right? Voters are really struggling right now, whether it's affordability and rents in the Bronx, whether it's poverty or hunger, it is real, right? Whether it's healthcare issues, even just getting on the train and getting to work is a struggle for many New Yorkers. I myself in the Bronx used to have to take 2 trains and a bus to get home, right? What does that mean, right? And how are you talking to me about what matters, right? And I think that's kind of the authenticity that we're missing in the Democratic Party, and we need to go back to that.
Do you see it happening before the midterm elections?
I hope.
Yeah,
I know I'm telling my folks to be authentic and talk and lean in. Whether or not they listen, that's up to them.
Yeah, Yeah. I want to broach another topic, and that is the relationship between Puerto Rico, right here in the United States. We know that there's connections that are out there. You formed an organization to really tighten up connections between Puerto Rico and the United States. I want to give you a moment to share a little bit about that.
Yeah, so I'm very proud of this organization. It is not my day job, but it is my heart and soul. It's called La Brega y Fuerza. You can go to labregafuerza.org to learn more about our organization. Our goal is to create a stronger pipeline between the communities on the island and off the island, in places like New York, where we have almost 1 million or so Puerto Ricans, and across the country, like, believe it or not, Wisconsin and Chicago and New Jersey and Massachusetts, where there are big pockets of Puerto Rican voters, all of them really feeling like their island has been ignored and trying to create opportunities to strengthen the island's economic future and resilience. And so we're working very closely with organizations on the island and off the island. We're talking to Puerto Ricans across the country. We have been doing work since even before the presidential and now after the presidential, focused on ensuring that people understand the issues that are plaguing Puerto Rico and how you, as a regular person who has a home there or has family there, can still be a powerful messenger in talking to their public officials and advocates. We're also working very closely on environmental resilience, and working closely with local fishermen and local economies to figure out how do we actually maintain our own local space and independence economically in a very hard climate.
Yeah. Camille Rivera, partner of New Deal Strategies and also adjunct professor of international and public affairs at Columbia. We thank you so much for joining us and sharing a little bit about insight into unions, the political climate, and the work that's going on within the Latino community. Thank you so much.
I'm so grateful. Thank you so much for having me.
All righty. Now, if you want more information, go ahead and visit the website at newdealstrategies.com. We encourage you don't go anywhere. We'll be back with more Open coming up right after this.